here at the Ed Lycan Conservatory at Will Rogers Park in Oklahoma City, and joining me is Rod Moselle, the president of American Plant Products. And Rod, you've had a lot of history with this conservatory here, and you've done some recent renovations a couple of years ago. Can you tell us a little bit about the history as far as who is Ed Lycan and why is it named after him?
Ed Lycan was Oklahoma City's first florist. They call him the florist of Oklahoma City. He was on the staff of the city. He was actually for about 50 years the head of the Parks Department, and during that time there were greenhouses at Wheeler Park, then at Douglas Park, and then consequently moved in 1936 here to Will Rogers Park.
So it's been sitting here since 1936,
That is correct.
And it's recently gone through some renovations a few years ago. Let's go in and take a look at that.
Let's do it.
Wow, Rod, this looks amazing in here. It's quite beautiful. Can you tell me exactly what you've done? It looks brand new in here.
It literally is brand new. There's just a very few features like the wheels for the vents and so forth that are the actual historic pieces. Everything else, when we took it down, we saved each piece and we remade new pieces that were heavier and stronger, but the very same shapes and look just like the old piece. So actually everything from the concrete stem wall up is brand new. And it's heavier duty, whether it's heavier duty steel than what used to be here to meet the modern building codes. The wood roof bars were replaced with aluminum roof bars, and the glass is double wall glass instead of single glass, but it all looks the same radiuses, same arches, everything looks the same as what it did when it was the original.
So you have a couple of pieces that you brought here. This was originally what the frame was?
That's the original cedar roof bars, so all the roof bars that held the glass used to be, and this is one actually that came off the roof that I save in my office still for history's sake, I guess. And then we replaced those wood roof bars since we needed to hold more weight with the insulated glass and to meet the modern building code. We made these aluminum roof bars that mimic the old wood roof bar, but are much heavier weight, and then the glass lays on each side of this, and then has extrusions that come down over it, so it gets a better weather-tight seal than it used to be just glass against wood on both sides. But so that's what's up there on top of the roof and bent to the radiuses and so forth to hold the glass.
And can you tell me kind of how glass has changed over the years too?
Yes, this is, excuse the labels on there, but that's just a single wall glass like used to be used, a double strength glass. And it's still used on a lot of home greenhouses and so forth, and there's still commercial greenhouses left in the city like that, but they're very energy inefficient because it's single glass and they're small panels. Well, we replaced that with insulated glass, so this is actually 2 layers of glass, and most of these are thicker than this, but this is one I had handy. So the outer piece of glass is low E glass, so it reflects a lot of the heat back out, the infrared heat, so we don't get as hot in here as we would with regular glass. The inside between the 2 glasses is filled with argon gas, again to help with energy efficiency, and then the inside side of the glass is laminated, so if it breaks, it won't fall in a bunch of sharp pieces that could hurt somebody. So it breaks in a bunch of small pieces and stays together till we have a chance to change the glass out. But so all this glass, this is much heavier than the other was, and that's part of why it took a lot more structure to support it now.
And now I know in Oklahoma we don't have a lot of glass greenhouses. What is glass compared to polycarbonate, the double wall plastic greenhouses that we see a lot of times?
Well, glass is still, a lot of growers still like growing under glass because it's the most like growing outdoors under the sun. You get the same light spectrum you get outside. When we use polycarbonates or acrylic or plastic film, all those change the light spectrum a little bit. But in Oklahoma, we're blessed to get lots of light. And so we can give up a little bit of light to get the better hail resistance of the polycarbonates. We can give up a little light to get the inexpensive energy efficiency of a double layer polyfilm. So we trade off getting the more perfect light spectrum of glass for not quite as good. Usually within 8 or 10% is good, but the increased energy efficiency and the lower cost and the last longer, and it doesn't weigh as much, so it takes less frames. So that's why we don't see as much glass. And as you go north where they have less light, if you go to Holland or parts in Europe, you'll see lots of glass greenhouses because they need every drop of sunlight they can capture.
Right. We take it for granted a little bit. In fact, we have shade cloth up over this right here.
At this time of year, we get so much light that we're figuring out ways to reduce it. We get about 4 or 5 times as much light at the middle of the day in July or August as we get in the middle of the day of December or January. The light's like 16,000 foot candles instead of 4,000 foot candles, and we get it for a lot more hours of the day. So one of the changes to be more modern, I guess, to the historic structure is to add this motorized shade system. And this shade can open and close depending on the light levels and what the settings are set off the controls. So if it's a cloudy day, you can open it up to get full sunlight. If it's a real bright sunny day like in June, July, or August, you can have the shade deployed so that it reduces the sun coming in by 50 or 60%.
Now, Rod, this has shade cloth over it, but in this other wing, there is no shade cloth.
Well, actually there is shade cloth, but this shade cloth is pulled to the open right now.
Right.
The computer sensor is set for how much light energy we want in here. And of course, with this being cactus and succulents in this cell, they've got it set to want more sunlight. So that's why it's open in here when it's closed in the other 2 wings right now. But so this fabric has rolled and collapsed together into these bunches that you see overhead. And then when you want to shade it again or save energy at nighttime, in the winter, you'd always extend it to save energy. This is a real fancy fabric that we bring in from Europe out of Sweden. And it'll cut the energy use, even below that insulated glass, it'll cut the energy use by another 35 to 45%.
Oh, wow.
And in the daytime, it acts as shading on the days we want shading. So you can't probably see it on TV, but there's shadows all in here around on the planters and everything, where there aren't any shadows really in there because the shade has reduced the light so much, and even it diffuses it. And here you can still see the shadows of the roof bars and so forth. So
Conservatories have really gotten efficient with the way they manage their energy uses, and you also have some cool cells that keep it nice and cool in here for June.
It's not air conditioning, but it's for greenhouse world, evaporative cooling is what we use, and so we're adding more water to the air through these pads, and then using the fans to blow the air in, and then we open the vents on the sidewall. So as we push in cool air on that side, we let the hot air go out through the roof vent and through the sidewall vent. So we use a combination of evaporative cooling and passive air movement to try to keep cool air moving through the space and get the hot air out.
Circulating. Now, you also in the wintertime have to worry about heating this conservatory. So we have some radiant heat, it looks like, over here.
This has got fin pipe, and hot water is circulating through this in the wintertime. Today, we obviously don't need any hot water, and there's a boiler that serves the 4 production greenhouses and the conservatory, and so the hot water runs through these fins, warms up the fins, and then the heat moves from a point of high concentration to low concentration out into the space. So the actual only heat in this greenhouse is in these fin pipes around the 4 walls. In the main conservatory, there's also some heat in the floor underneath the pavement, in addition to because we didn't have as much wall space as we needed for the fin pipe there. So we can do the heat under the floor or around the walls of the greenhouse.
So how long did all of this work take to rebuild this conservatory?
From the time we took the greenhouse down till we finished building it for the grand opening was about a 2-year project, which, you could never do a commercial greenhouse like that, but when a lot of these things we couldn't measure or redesign until we had down the old piece to do, so it was a very slow, cumbersome process. And since it's on the National Register of Historic Places, actually the 32 acres of the gardens where you're going to be visiting some other parts as well were put on the National Register in 2005, including this Lycan Conservatory. And so we've tried to be true to that historical message, and so it made it a slow process to make everything match as we went along.
Well, you guys did amazing work, and it's beautiful to see such a historic place brought back to life.
It's very cool. I might mention real quickly, there also is another of these Lord and Burnham. These Victorian greenhouses are designed by a firm out of New York back in the early 1900s called Lord and Burnham, which is very famous. There's 2 others still standing that I know of in Oklahoma, one in Woodward Park at Tulsa, and then one on the old Champlin Estate in Enid. There's some others like the one at Muskogee and all have disappeared over the years. But so these are true treasures, true Victorian art pieces that we're excited to have here in Oklahoma City and in our state.
Well, I would encourage everyone to come visit.
Thank you.
Joining me me next is Scott Copeland, who's the Natural Resource Manager for the City of Oklahoma City. And Scott, this is an amazing facility.
It's a great facility.
Can you kind of tell me about how the city is utilizing this?
We rent this space. We have a lot of weddings out here. It's rented all the time, weekends, weeknights. We have classes in here sometimes. Like every third Thursday of the month, we will have a class that Jim Woolley teaches, and it's how to make bouquets and flower arrangements and stuff like that. So it's a great class for anybody to come out and see and participate in.
Very exciting, and this is available. It's open to the public daily.
Yes. Daily.
But people can also rent this.
Yes, that's correct.
And where can they find more information about that?
You can go to okc.gov. They can also call the phone number for the building out here, and we have a lady that actually will answer your questions, anything you want to know, and she's great with people, does an awesome job, and we'll help out anybody out here that wants to use the facility.
Perfect.
It's a great facility.
Well, it's beautiful, and you've got a lot of beautiful containers inside, but the grounds outside are just amazing.
Yes.
There's so much color here.
Well, it's the color garden now. It used to be the rose garden, and about 2 years ago, blight came through and kind of, did away with the roses.
We all lost a few roses, yes.
And so we've gone back through the last couple of years, and we've put in a lot of color, a lot of different kind of plant material. Butterflies, bees love this place now, but if you go out there right now, there's color everywhere.
Well, your hard work is definitely paying off here.
It's my staff, and I have to, call out my director and assistant director. There's a new direction the park system's going, and we're really trying to make things better. So.
And it definitely shows.
Well,
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.